Hello, readers, friends, and everyone else out there. It's Aaron, and I'm here with another episode of One Row Reviews, where I talk about the books I've been reading and the books that I'm writing for as long as it takes me to add one row to this crochet project. Now, usually I start off One Row Reviews by talking about the books I've been reading, but I'm going to start off talking about writing this week because some exciting stuff happened. And I didn't make as much forward progress as I thought I was going to this week, but I did make quite a bit. And the progress that I made was significant in other ways, like realized some things that are going to be very useful going into the next step of the process and made some adjustments to what I was putting down in the moment. Gained a lot more confidence in where the story is going and just got really energized and excited about it, and that is very cool and I think definitely worth sharing up front. As far as the books I've been reading, there are only two this week, which if you've been following One Row Reviews, you know is a little unusual for me. I average about 3 or 4 books that I make progress on generally in any given week because I'm one of those people that has lots of books going at any given time for whatever reason. I just like reading that way. And so this week, though, I only had 2. I made more progress on Into the Beyond by Ariana August. That is the far future sci-fi where there's the city, the domed city that people have escaped into generations ago to escape like pollution on Earth. And some people leave the city and discover that there's people still living out there in the wilds and stuff is going on that they feel compelled to act on and help with. It's a good story. I would recommend it to anyone looking for a quick, easy sci-fi read that likes the far future dash of dystopian, dash of post-apocalyptic flavor to it. The other book that I read this week, the one that I spent the majority of my time on, was actually a reread for me. Feeding Your Demons by Tsultrim Allione. This was a book that I first read about 5 years ago, and it is... So the tagline for the book is... using ancient wisdom to resolve inner conflict. And the ancient wisdom it's talking about is the teachings of an 11th century woman who was a Tibetan Lama who developed this practice that translated into English means feeding the demons. And it's combined with a bit of some elements of Jungian psychiatry to make it a little more easily understandable, a little more palatable to the Western mindset. And now when I say demons, I don't mean demons in the Christian or supernatural sense, like rah, scary monsters who are going to come corrupt you sort of thing. It's demons in the internal sense. You know, so you might use the 5-step meditative process to look at a demon of anger or a demon of jealousy or a demon of shame or a demon of fear. Things like that. Things that are internal and causing a problem for you in your life. And it approaches it from a perspective, not that these are things that need to be battled and defeated, but that it is something inside of you that needs to be approached with compassion and nourished in some way, and in so doing can become an ally for you and free up energy for positive things in your life. When I initially read this book, I was in a place where a lot of negative self-destructive habits had worked their way into my life. And I was really fervently looking for something to help me address all of that. I wasn't in therapy yet at that point, and I was looking for different solutions, and this is one of the ones that I looked into. It was one of the more helpful ones. I did the 5-step meditative process for a while. Really helped me a lot to get to a point where things like therapy and things like that would actually help me. And then eventually I stopped, and I don't honestly remember why I stopped doing the process, other than I know part of it was there's a bit of a time commitment involved with doing it. It's not a huge time sink, but there is a little bit of a commitment there. And I do remember thinking, oh man, I just haven't had time to do it much recently, a little before I stopped doing it. I don't know if there was really a specific reason, but anyway, lately I've been having some worries up in here, and 2024 was, see if I can keep my hook on the loop here. 2024, was not a horrible year for me, but it was, 11 out of the 12 months were kind of an uphill mental health struggle for me, trying to stay in a good space was tough last year. And sometimes I succeeded, sometimes I didn't. But, in December, things really started to resolve, and I really got to doing better. So I'm in a much happier, healthier, more balanced place now. But, I was having a week where I was just, having a lot of worries, and I was kind of up in my head with some negativity and worried about a potential backslide and things like that. In my day job, I'm a librarian, and it just so happened that one day this past week, a book that came in that I was shelving was one of the ones that sits directly adjacent to Feeding Demons on the shelf. And I was out there shelving, and my mind was on all of these negative things going through my head. And then there this book was, and there was something inside me that just said, you know what, Aaron, it's time. Let's revisit this. So I did. And I reread the book. When I read it the first time, I skimmed or skipped over a lot of parts in it because I was really just like, okay, I've got the 5 steps. I want to move on, and I want to get to actually doing them so I can get the benefit out of this, which was fine at the time. But there were a lot of things like were case studies in the back of the book where it shows like how people have applied it to different types of demons, and it talks about like inner demons and demons of elation, where it's like, you've made all this progress and it's causing problems for you, and all these different things like that. And when I put it down the first time, I said, someday I'm going to come back to this book and I'm going to read those other parts more carefully and digest them. So I did this time. And I got a lot more out of it, got some cool new perspectives, I think, on some of it. And I've done the 5-step meditative process a few times. And, I think it's really helped. I think I'll be able to use it more effectively this time than I did last time. Not that it wasn't helpful and effective when I did it 5 years ago, but, I think I'm in a better place to use it in the manner in which it's intended now. I would recommend this book to most people. I want to point out, this book is not necessarily a spiritual thing. It certainly can be. It is based in a Buddhist tradition. But I've recommended it to a lot of people over the last 5 years. And sometimes people will sort of bristle a little bit at it, and they'll say, well, that's all well and good, but I'm not going to benefit from that because I'm not Buddhist. Well, I'm not either. You don't have to be to benefit from these meditative practices. They can be done secularly, so you don't even have to have a religious tradition to benefit from them. It's really something that is outside of all of that. You can still benefit from it, even if you just look at it as a, mental health exercise. So don't let that stop you from approaching this book if it's interest to you in any way. I feel like if you've got a mind to think, a heart to feel, and a body to experience, you can probably get something positive out of the experience of reading this book. And with that, that is the end of our row for this week. Now, Started this last week when somebody had asked, how long has the project gotten? So let's pull out our handy dandy measuring tape and find out. It is 8.5 inches now. I have a feeling this thing is going to be really long by the end of the year. I don't know, if it gets too unwieldy, maybe I'll stop partway through the year and start another one or something. I don't know. Or maybe I'll just let it be super hilariously long. That could also be cool. What do you think I should do? Should I stop if it gets unwieldy, or should I just let it be hilariously long if it gets that way? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you next week.